Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Parenting Lab. There's something about January that carries a very specific energy. It's a little bit of excitement, a little bit of nostalgia, and a little bit of subtle pressure that tells us this is the moment to get serious, to fix what didn't work last year, to finally become the version of ourselves we were supposed to be by now. And that pressure doesn't just live inside your head, it can actually be kind of hard to keep it to ourselves. It shows up in your body. It shows up in how you talk to your kids and others. It shows up in the way your home feels. Because whenever we are called to a big shift, whether it's by the calendar or inspiration, maybe desperation or some other catalyst for growth, it's not something that happens overnight or like a switch that just flips and the light comes on. That call or that pull towards the shift is just the first step of many on your journey to healing. So, if you're listening to this episode at the beginning of a new year, or the start of a new journey, or even on a random day because it was just next in the queue, I want you to know that you can release that pressure that tells you to become a different person or a different parent today. Because even if you don't stop yelling, or your nervous system is still triggered and on high alert, even if you find yourself wanting to start but don't know where or how, I promise you can find your way, and I'm here to help you. This episode is actually not here to motivate you or to push you forward. It's here to give you somewhere to land, to offer some solid ground so you can rest and recalibrate. Because this year, we are not beginning with a reset, we're beginning with a return to yourself, to your body, and to the kind of parent you already are underneath all of the noise. At the end of last year, in episode 40, I shared my vision for you. And that vision wasn't about being more productive, more consistent, or even more impressive as a parent. It was about something much quieter and much deeper. It was about feeling less shame, more understanding, more compassion, especially in the moments when parenting feels the hardest. It was about recognizing that so many of our struggles as parents don't come from a lack of effort or care. They come from the fact that we're parenting while carrying our own histories, our own nervous systems, and often our own unhealed wounds. Just because the year changed doesn't mean the work magically completed itself. Many of you are still carrying exhaustion. You're still carrying grief. You're still carrying moments you wish you could redo or patterns you swore you wouldn't repeat and then found yourself slipping back into when you were tired or overwhelmed. If that's you, welcome to parenting. Welcome to reality. Because healing doesn't operate on a calendar. Growth doesn't wrap itself up neatly at the end of December. And we can't just leave everything in the past and start with a clean slate at the stroke of midnight, as much as we wish we could. That's not progress. That's amnesia. As hard to achieve as it may seem, I still firmly believe in my vision for you, and I'm deeply committed to helping you see that vision turn into your new reality, even as I continue to work towards it myself. But this episode isn't about my vision for you. This one marks a shift, maybe even a call, because now it's time to turn toward your vision, not the one you think you should have, and not the one that sounds good on paper or looks aesthetic on a vision board, but the one that's already there, beneath the surface of your lived experience. Before we go any further, I want to clarify this is not an episode about setting parenting resolutions. Resolutions tend to be behavioral and rigid. They sound like, I'm going to stop yelling, or I'm going to be more patient, or I'm going to stay calm no matter what. And believe me, I understand the longing behind those statements. They come from a real desire to do better, to feel better, to create something different for our kids. But resolutions often fall apart in real life parenting, not because we don't care enough, but because parenting doesn't happen in controlled conditions. It happens in the middle of nervous system overload, sleep deprivation, conflicting needs, and old wounds getting activated by tiny humans who are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing developmentally. Resolutions assume linear growth, or boxes you can just check when tasks get done. It relies solely on your behavior, the things you do or don't do. That means that resolutions can also feel very transactional, kind of an if-then equation. If I stick to my diet, then I'll have the body I want. If I save $20 a week, then I'll reach my financial goals. If I stop yelling, my kids will be better behaved. I think that's why it's so easy to get discouraged when we make these kinds of behavioral resolutions. Because even with perfect effort and performance, none of these things is actually guaranteed. Your body might resist weight loss. Your spending might still exceed your savings. And you could be the nicest, calmest parent of all time, and your kids still won't do what you want them to do. A vision, on the other hand, is relational. It moves along with you and grows with you. It adapts when life changes. A resolution asks, did I succeed or fail? A vision asks, what am I orienting toward, even when things get hard? It places the value in the process, not the result, and allows for growth in real time, for adjustments, for experience, for allowing the process to evolve along with you. The interesting parallel to this idea of vision is actual physical vision. It changes. Things come into clearer focus as you move closer or further away. Sometimes you have a clear destination, but as it comes into focus, you realize new details or new challenges that change where you want to go. With clarity of vision comes complexity and refinement. What you wanted wasn't wrong. It's just becoming more precise, more honest, more aligned with who you are and what your family actually needs. When we see more clearly, we also see that things are rarely simple. Parenting, a lot like healing, is layered, and noticing those layers isn't a setback, it's growth. That distinction matters because shame shuts learning down, but safety allows growth. You don't need better goals this year. You need a more gentle, more honest relationship with yourself inside the process of parenting. Now, before we talk about how to access your vision, there's something we need to loosen our grip on first, and that's fixing energy, because I know that at some point this is going to come up for you. Fixing energy sounds like, oh, what's wrong with me? Or why can't I simply apply what I know? Or I just need one more tool, one more strategy, one more podcast episode. Fixing energy keeps us in a constant state of self-evaluation. It turns parenting into a performance review rather than a relationship. And children feel that. They feel that tension. They feel that pressure. They feel the fear underneath our attempts to get it right. When we're operating from fixing energy, parenting becomes about control. Controlling behavior, controlling outcomes, controlling ourselves, and controlling our kids. But I want you to hear this. You cannot heal and you cannot parent from a place of threat. When your nervous system is braced for impact, everything becomes about survival. Control might look like success on the outside, but what it's really doing is creating disconnection on the inside. So part of your vision this year may simply be learning how to soften that fixing impulse, or even just to recognize it in yourself. Less self-surveillance, more curiosity, less performing, more presence. That shift alone can change the entire emotional climate of a home. All right, so let's pause and take an honest look at what we're bringing with us into this year, because none of us starts fresh, no matter how much culture and media tells us that we should. You might be carrying old family patterns that resurface when you're overwhelmed. You may be carrying moments or conversations that still replay in your mind. You may be carrying the exhaustion of always being the regulated one, the one who holds everything together. You may be carrying grief for the childhood you didn't get, or for the parent you hoped you'd be by now, or even for the parents you wish you had had. You might also be carrying hope and fear and a quiet sense of, "Oh, what if I try again and I still don't get it right?" This kind of awareness is not a burden. It's really an opening. Naming what you're carrying doesn't mean you're stuck with it forever. It just means you're finally holding it consciously, with choice, and with compassion. Healing doesn't mean starting fresh. It means starting honest. Now that you have this sort of mental inventory of what you're working with, what you've brought with you into this new season, how do you actually access your vision? I want you to pay attention to the word I'm using here, because like I always say, the words we use are so important. I want you to see this process as a way to access your vision, not decide it, not force it, not create it, not write it, but to really listen for it within yourself, to excavate into your mind and your heart to unearth what you truly see for yourself and for your family. This really speaks to your inner longing and what feels the most aligned with your values, because your vision isn't something you can just invent. It's like an emotional gravity that's pulling you toward that sense of alignment. It's working in the background, even if you don't have a conscious awareness of it yet. So here are a few steps that are going to help you to be able to access your true vision. The first step is regulation. Vision does not emerge from overwhelm. When your body is tight and your nervous system is activated, your vision will sound like fear or control. So before you ask yourself any big questions, you need to start in the body. You notice your breath, your shoulders, your jaw. You remind your nervous system that you are safe enough right now to reflect. We don't imagine from safety later. We imagine from safety first. From there, instead of asking what you want to fix or to stop doing, you begin with how you want things to feel. How do you want your home to feel in the mornings? How do you want your child to feel when they make a mistake? How do you want to feel while you're parenting, even when things are messy? Your vision is emotional before it can be practical. Feelings come before strategies. As you reflect, you're not looking for perfection or clarity right away. What you're looking for are patterns. What longings keep showing up again and again? More ease, more honesty, more rest, more laughter. You can want structure and softness at the same time. You can want boundaries and warmth. A vision isn't a destination, it's an orientation. It's something to set your sight on in the distance. From there, you begin to name what you're ready to practice, not what you promise to change. Practice leaves room for experience. Instead of, I won't yell, it might sound like, I want to practice pausing, or I want to practice repair, or I want to practice noticing what's happening in my body. You don't fail a practice, you return to it. This is one of my favorite concepts to explore with my clients, this idea of practice. I think a good way to illustrate that is to say it's like a diet. And this especially works well right now because we're in January and probably at least one of you is in the first week of some new eating habits. But if your diet is focused on change, then it's reliant on behavior and control. Now, this feels really good when you're hitting the mark every day. But when you mess up, it's easy to say, oh, well, I already ate the brownie. I might as well have the M&Ms too. And there goes your control. And you haven't changed at all. And by next week, you'll be saying, maybe Monday, or maybe when school gets out, or hey, you know what? There's always next year. But practice tells us, crap, I made a mistake. It's okay. It's not a total loss. I'll keep trying and see if I can do better the rest of the day. We return to the original goal time and time again. We go back to that initial motivation to keep us moving forward. It's why when our kids are in piano lessons, we want them to practice, right? We don't want them abandoning the goal the first time they can't control their fingers and make a mistake, because we're not asking them to be perfect the first try, or the 10th try, or even on the 100th try. Over and over and over again, we're asking them to practice. Return to the basics. Return to the goal. Practice says, hey, you missed the mark, but you can try again. So focus on practices, not changes. And finally, and this is one of my favorite steps, and for some of us it's actually one of the hardest, you let your vision be incomplete. If it feels tender, unfinished, maybe hard to articulate, it's often a sign that you're close, but you may need to dig a little bit deeper. That's the call to deeper awareness and healing. Clarity unfolds through living, not through forcing yourself to decide everything all at once. And that's how you access your vision. Now, as your parent coach, how can I help? Well, as we move through this year together, instead of resolutions, I want to offer you a set of themes, places we're going to keep returning to that are going to broaden your perspective, deepen your understanding, and hopefully inspire you toward healing and strengthening yourself, your parenting, and your family. We're going to talk about regulation, not as calm parenting, but as supported parenting. We'll focus on building the capacity to notice what's happening in your body so you can stay present, even when things get hard. We'll talk about clarity, about understanding your child's behavior and your own patterns, and learning how to trust your internal signals instead of drowning in outside noise. We'll talk about the power of relationship, about shifting from control to connection, and about repair as a skill that builds resilience rather than something that only happens when you've failed. We'll talk about safety, emotional safety for your children and for you, and what it means to create homes where big feelings don't threaten belonging. And we'll talk about healing, not as erasing the past, but as relating to it differently, with more compassion and choice and intention. Remember, these are not boxes to check. They're touchstones, just markers along the path, places to return to when things feel confusing or heavy. So as we begin this year, I'm not asking you to commit to anything. I'm inviting you to wonder. What do you want your family to feel like? What do you want to practice returning to again and again even when you get pulled off course. You don't need to change everything. You just need a different place to begin. This year isn't about becoming a new parent or changing everything all at once. It's about becoming a more honest parent, more honest about your vision, about your capacity, about what you're needing to release, and what you're ready to embrace with intention. And you don't need to do this perfectly. You just need somewhere safe to keep coming back to. And that's what we're building here in the Parenting Lab. I'm really glad you're here. As you begin to access your parenting vision, I would love to hear what you connect to. So please leave a comment or send me an email. It's always so validating to share our discoveries with someone who's invested in our success. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you here next time, where we'll continue to explore the art and science of parenting and put your parenting to the test. Take care, everyone.